Welcome to Kyle's channel, where I'm going to talk about my honest take on the new Kortz Heist DLC. The good, the bad, and the KO Perico. Now, I want to start this video off on a positive note, all the things that I enjoyed about the heist. Starting off with the heist itself. I think the heist itself is very reminiscent of how the casino heist was laid out, but I can do it solo, and for someone who doesn't have friends that regularly play the game, I do enjoy this type of heist that I can do solo without all the miscellaneous traveling of KO Perico. So I do enjoy this heist. I think it has plenty of replayability with all of its different approaches and access points, and it kind of feels more like a sandbox heist rather than go here, you can wander around and do as you please and steal what you want. And I like that kind of open freedom to it. And on top of that, with the various approaches, unlike something like the KO Perico heist, where it very quickly became obvious that going in through the sewer was the best way and using the long fin was the best approach, with this heist, I think it's harder. We haven't found a one true perfect way to do it. There's so many ways to approach it, and even the minor differences or what you want to steal or what you're trying to accomplish, that there's no one true way to do it the best or the fastest. It's kind of what works for you. And I like that, because personally I still love the sewer grates, even though they're not efficient. I just like underground tunnels. I also absolutely love the fact that they added some crossover benefits for owning different properties. I talk about this in my breakdown of all the facts that I found about the entire heist, but I really like the fact that you get extra benefits for having the mansion armory, the mansion vehicle workshop, the mansion security staff, which I think helps a lot, and then the extra bonuses for owning agency, garment factory, or terabyte with the addition of Paige Harris doing some of the hacking behind the scenes. Although I haven't seen anyone use it and I haven't tried using it myself, if you own the drone station for the arcade, you can use drones in the finale. I really like this kind of crossover play and crossover benefit of having different businesses have extra benefits in this, and I think that we need more things like that in the future or with GTA 6, just because it kind of incentivizes you more to expand, and so I really like that. I love that move that Rockstar did. We haven't seen a lot of it in the past, so great job. Now, I know that a lot of people see this as a downside with the reused interiors throughout the setups for the heists. But we've had reused interiors for every DLC for years now. And I think that lots of the reused interiors for this DLC have been modified or changed, where you enter in from a different angle, or certain areas are cut off, or the props have changed so much that sometimes it's a little hard to recognize exactly what it's from. But on top of that, they reuse some interiors that we haven't seen very often. And I kind of like that. It makes it feel a little bit more fresh. It wasn't just breaking into your standard apartment, your standard underground lab, and your standard vehicle warehouse like we always see. I don't have a problem with reused interiors, I just think they need to be more varied. Another thing I loved about this DLC is the fact that there's so many places to hide Easter eggs and references. I mean, we got 28 paintings that we can hang up on our walls. Maybe it's 27. We got 27 paintings we can hang up on our walls, and numerous other paintings and statues that you can see in the Kortz Center. And all of those have something hidden in them. They're a reference to some real life style of art, or a real life piece, or a previous GTA game. And I think that's fantastic. I love finding Easter eggs, and I had a lot of fun breaking them all down in my full breakdown video. And this one might be controversial as well, but I do enjoy the laser room. It can be difficult, and it can be tricky at times, but I think the addition of new mechanics this late in the game is definitely a thing that I think we should be kind of encouraging, because it allows them to kind of expand and try new things. And yeah, the movement is a little wonky with the jumping and the crouching, and it's a little finicky to get used to. But the actual idea of having a new style of obstacle that we haven't seen in the last 13 years is fantastic. I love that addition. And then when it comes to the vehicles, I found that there was less issues on the new vehicles than we've seen in previous DLCs. I know when people look at my vehicle facts video and I point out that a tail light gets tinted or things like that, that they're like, all these vehicles are broken. They're not. The devs are just human. They're going to make minor mistakes. But for a lot of the vehicles, I struggled to find a lot of facts for them, and I had to really go digging to find problems, which is a really good thing. Not so much for my content, but it's really good for Rockstar. I think that it shows they are paying closer attention to that kind of stuff, so hats off there. There was also a lot of map changes, and I think my favorite was the changes to the maze at the Kortz Center. Adding that border around the outside makes it feel a lot more like a maze when there's actually only 2 entrances or exits. You can't just freely enter or leave anywhere, and it's no longer on your mini-map, which I think is always a fantastic thing. It means that if you're playing with some friends that you want to do like a murder maze in there, you don't need to turn off your mini-map or rely on them for not looking at it. It's just not there, which I think is great. But now we move into some of the things that I think are okay. They're kind of in that middle section where there's good aspects and there's bad aspects to them. And that's where we get back to the collectibles, specifically with the career progress. To start, I love the fact that we have a unique vehicle that you can't get anywhere else, only available through career progress. But of course, to get that vehicle is a big grind. And I do think the career progress should be a grind, but based on the calculations on how long it could take the average player to reach this for this heist, it's a little ridiculous. So I think if we tone back on that or make it a bit more balanced, that'd be fantastic. I love the fact that there's a unique reward for completing such difficult tasks. So we don't want them to be easy, but if they're too hard, nobody's going to do it. So it's a hard balancing act. And for the vehicles, I found it interesting that we didn't get any new liveries on some of the new drift cars. The Dominator GTT and the original Coquette not having any new drift liveries make them the first 2 drift vehicles that didn't get new liveries with the drift editions. And the Coquette doesn't have any liveries at all, so it's going to be our first drift vehicle that doesn't have any liveries. And I don't think liveries are the most difficult thing to make, so it would have been nice to see some creativity, even if they're just remapped from other vehicles. Speaking of other vehicles, we didn't get a lot of vehicles in this DLC, and I know this was the second half of the Mansion DLC because of GTA 6 being delayed prior to the Mansion DLC and it likely having to be split up, but there's not a lot to look forward to with the drip feed because we have 3 pre-existing vehicles that are going to be drift vehicles. We have an Ignis police car, but we already have 2 versions of the Ignis already, and then 2 brand new cars that we'll be getting at some point. So realistically, there's only 2 brand new things in the drip feed, which isn't a lot. And of course we have the Elite Challenge for the heist, which is also a bit too challenging for the reward you get. I like to see a difficult Elite Challenge. I think that the difficulty of it is possible, but not something you get every time like the Cayo Perico heist was, where you just do the heist and you'd get it every time because it was easy enough to just do. I like the fact that this is actually challenging, but the fact that the reward for it is only $100,000 is kind of a kick in the balls. I think that reward could go up to 250, maybe 300,000 at least, and then it makes putting that extra effort in to make sure you're hitting your shots and getting in and out on time more worth it and more of a focus during the heist. So again, it's that tough balancing act of what's a fair amount to give for the amount of work without making it not worth it. Which brings us to the bad things for the DLC. And obviously the first thing I'm going to touch on is the Cayo Perico nerfs. I feel like at this point Rockstar has kicked Cayo in the balls, shot it in the gut, dug a hole, buried it alive, and at this point they're just pissing on the grave. Rockstar, it's fine. Chill. Cayo Perico was not the most competitive way to make money in this game like 2 years ago. It's been horrible for a while. The entire DLC is being overshadowed by that one change, and a lot of people are labeling this as the worst DLC ever because of the changes to Cayo Perico, which isn't even part of this DLC. So I feel like you kind of shot yourself in the foot when it comes to that. I think a better way to do this would be reverting the Cayo Perico back to where it was and then making some adjustments based on the weekly bonuses that we'll talk about in a moment. I also thought it was disappointing we didn't get any new clothing, no tattoos, no hairstyles, nothing like that. Like nothing like that. Not even like an alpha male postal suit to go with the con job we can do, nothing. So, a little disappointing. I think that a couple outfits is always nice to get. I'm not asking for a lot, but it was disappointing to see that there's just nothing when it comes to that. But also there was no HSW added to pre-existing vehicles. And I think there's a lot of old day one cars, like the Adder, for example, that could really benefit from having an HSW version that would make it competitive in the Supers class again. And there's a lot of vehicles we could do this to. And let's be honest, people would pay a lot of money just to have their old favorite cars have HSW. I mean, I'd pay a couple mil to put HSW on my Zentorno just for the nostalgia of it. And on top of that, the unfinished storyline. I'm concerned because I think there's more story to be done with Mr. Faber, and I don't know what Rockstar's plan is. Because some people are saying that, oh, we'll finish it up in the winter DLC, in the December DLC. But that's after GTA 6 comes out. So unless they are planning to release GTA Online 2 months after in the new year, then there would be no point to release a new DLC in December. So unless we got one in the fall for some reason, I just don't know when else they'd release it. I'd love to see it because I want to see the storyline wrap up and maybe take down Mr. Faber. I just don't know when it's going to happen. Which brings me to my hot takes. And I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, okay? Because I know a lot of people will disagree with this. I think the change to first-time weekly bonuses with the heists is a really good thing. I like that idea. The fact that it kind of pushes people to do different heists or different activities throughout the week instead of just doing KO, rinse, and repeat over and over, back to back to back to back. It kind of gets people doing other things and playing the game for other reasons, which is fantastic. But I think it was done incorrectly. Instead of punishing those who do it back to back to back, we should reward those who don't. So instead of lowering the overall pay, the pay for these should have been the same with an added boost if you do it for the first time that week. So for someone who does the Diamond Casino heist back to back to back, their first one, yay, they get more money. And then after that, they get their normal amount. But they could have made more money if they did a KO Perico heist, a Kortz Heist, and then an Act 3 of Doomsday. They could have made more money doing that. So instead of punishing those who grind the same thing over and over again, we should reward those who do multiple things. And that way, nobody's being penalized for it. You get what I'm saying? I think they moved in the wrong direction on the slider. And a lot of people on YouTube and Twitter and even in our Discord are complaining a lot about this DLC, which is fine. You're allowed to dislike it. But if Rockstar is watching any of these videos or taking any feedback from the community, they can't do much with, your DLC was bad, fix it. Okay, what parts were bad? How do we fix it? What are you suggesting? If you don't give them anything like that, they got nothing to work with. So you kind of got to give constructive criticism, give them some building blocks. So I hope that I explained how it could have been done better in this video. But overall, I'd probably give this DLC a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. But it probably would have been an 8 or a 9 if they didn't touch KO Perico and rewarded players for doing different things instead of penalizing them for doing the same thing, like I mentioned. So overall, if I went back to my DLC ranking video from Rankmas, I'd probably put this in 8th place, just behind the Safe House in the Hills DLC and just ahead of the Drug Wars DLC. But if you want to see my whole breakdown of every single DLC being ranked, you can check out that video right here. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing because this is Kyle's channel, and I'll see you next time.